My name is Zsofia Seglatesh, and I'm a senior at Ithaca High School. Today I will be interviewing my grandmother, Maria Rabb, and my mother, also Maria Rabb. My grandmother grew up on the outskirts of Budapest during the Second World War. So, grandmother, can you tell me about the place that you grew up in?
Yes, I did. I was born in Budapest, and we moved out in a little outside the city, and I grew up in a little house 15 kilometers from Budapest, and in 1940 I started to go to the city, took the train to go to school in the city. The war started actually when I started to go to school, not in Hungary but in Europe, and Hungary only got into the war in 1942, and my father was most of the time when I was growing up, my father was called into the army, serving and coming back, and they were preparing for the war. My parents had a little shop in the city where they had about 4 or 5 people working, making shoes for order, measure, and the man who was doing the upper part of the shoes was one of the first one who was taken away for, at the time I think it was called forced labor, and I didn't really know him, and I didn't really know his family. I only got to know the family after he was gone, and my father promised him, this is the way I heard about it. It was a pretty tense time for everybody.
The first day you went to school when you were 10, when you were going to
No,
Budapest?
no, when I was 6 years old. It was not a peaceful time. At the same time, yes, there was some fun. There was still Christmas. I got a pair of skates, and I was going to be able to go skating. In 1942, they bought a house in the next little town that was called Rákoscsaba, Új Telep.
And what was that house like?
It was actually originally made for one room and a kitchen and a pantry with steps up to the attic. That was an important part. We even had pigeons. He built a pigeon coop, and these were the nice things. And
what about the bathroom? Was there a bathroom?
There was an outhouse next to the garbage heap, which was, today they call it compost.
Mommy, how big was your family?
It was a very big family because my mother had two sisters and a brother, and also 4 stepsisters and brothers. And that was a big family. And we were pretty close, even though they lived in different parts of the city. We did get together on especially holidays and days of celebrating my grandfather's name day, which was in the middle of the summer sometime.
So when the war started, how was your family affected?
It was very much affected because my father wasn't there most of the time, and my mother had to manage everything, and things were hard, and somehow they managed, and I was glad when my father did come home for a short leave, and I missed him very much when he wasn't there.
And were there Jews living in your neighborhood?
No, there were not. There was only one girl I remember in the elementary school, and
In your class?
it was in those days there were girls and boys separated, but I think the last year the teachers were all in. There weren't enough teachers, so we were mixed up. But she was the only one I knew. In fact, I think she's on one of my class pictures. And I've never seen her after the war. We also moved out, and I did go to different schools, but eventually, and Maria knew my best friend. This was after the war, when I did go to a convent school until the communist state took over and nationalized all the schools. We had to go to another school, and then it was there I did have Jewish classmates, and my best friend was eventually a Jewish girl who came back. But I have to think about these yellow stars when the people had to wear the yellow stars. So I don't know why I took up on that, because I went to the convent school and it just appeared to me there were Jewish girls coming to the convent school. So it was, I don't remember having any, at that time, I don't remember that I had close connection. I cannot even remember in my class, but I knew that it was still that the convent school was not restricted to Catholics. There could be anybody with different religions come there, and they were still there. There were times when the air raids was going on, we had to leave the school because the school had a hospital in the basement, and so we had to go and find a shelter. And sometimes I didn't get back I would go to my parents to the shop. But I must have met him, because I do have a picture of him in my mind. I have seen the father who eventually was taken, but I never met the family until they came, and that was when Hungary got, when the government was knocked out, and there was this Arrow party that was Nazi, whatever you want to call it. They were definitely doing the same thing but the German. They were just almost like terrorists, if into today's terms. People were really scared of these men who were wearing an armband, and they were anybody who was not with them, they were against them, and they were especially hard on, they were the worst when it came to the Jewish. All of a sudden, I remember I had my cousin at that time there, and we just knew something is happening. We didn't really know what is going on, and that's when my father brought the family, and they were there.
And how old were you? And who was the family?
I was 10 years old. This was just before the end of 1944. Quite honestly, I don't remember now if they all came at once or different times, but the 3 sisters and the youngest sister was also there, and the 2 girls, one girl my age and the little one, this is the oldest sister's children, and that was the wife of the person who was working with my father. And the little one was 3 years old.
So the little one was
Erika.
And the one your age was Eva.
Eva, and there was.
And their mother was
Manyi Neni was the mother, and there was Clary and Bergie.
And how about the meals? Did you eat the meals together? Was
We
there
did.
enough food?
We didn't have much food, but as long as we had some that was stored. Actually, it was almost like punishable if anybody was having too much food stored away. Even prior to the war, they were searching people's homes for I'm lost what the word is, that you're not supposed to have more than what you need, because everything was scarce. And the nicest thing of all this, when we were able to, Manyi did go, people were going to the villages to get flour, and we got some flour, and we were able to make bread, and we took the bread to the bakery, and the bakery baked the bread, and then it was the most delicious thing when we were picking up the fresh bread. That was that's a nice memory, cutting off the end of the bread on the way home. And I did have a dog, and the Russian soldiers did come and picked up a few chickens from the chicken yard, and the dog ran after them, and they shot the dog, but it was fortunately only the foot of the dog, and we were able to take care of it.
Did you all get along, Mom? Did everybody get along?
And we did get along, and of course we were 10 years old. It was a bitter cold winter, and we did pretty terrible with Erika. Eva and I, we took Erika out with the sled, and we tied her to the sled, and we said, you have to just stay there, and we were pulling her. We thought we were doing a good thing, pulling her. She shouldn't move, but she was a pretty temperamental little girl, and my nanny also had a hard time with her, sometimes locking her up in the pantry, and she would bang on the door and scream her head off. So these were parts of the being together, but I had no problem when they came. I thought it was just great that it's not just me and my mother there, and the Russians are coming, which was a big scare. I thought it was wonderful. to have them. And I guess that's just the way it was.
So how long did they stay in your house?
They stayed until the war was over. And actually there was another sister who had the whole family. They survived in the city, in the ghetto area, and they were very sick, and they also came and stayed after. I honestly don't know how we fit them in somehow. Maybe there was another room in that little house. That's the way I remember. It had to be February. It was still winter, or maybe even March, when my father came back. And I know that was my big heartache. Is he coming back, or what happened to him?
Are you still in touch with the Hajos family?
And I have forever, we have been like family with them. For years after the war. Actually, the saddest thing was that he was the only one in the whole family. This is a family of 8 brothers, sisters, and he was the only one who didn't come back.
You're talking about Ede Hajos.
The father.
The father of my nanny's husband. And the rest of the family, they all, for years, they would come to our yard, garden, whatever you call it, in the summer, because they all lived in the city.
Grandma, how did you feel when in 2011 your parents were awarded the Righteous of the Nations Award?
That my parents were always helping somebody. That was just, I think that was just the nature. Even after I was gone, they almost had a young man from the village or somebody who needed help, and they came to the city. They were that type of a people. So having this is really something very nice. It is, I think it is what they have done. I also feel very strongly. I also like to help. I think it comes with nature or character, or that's just the way it is.
A message for your granddaughter.
Yeah.
I really don't think she can even comprehend it. What are we talking about? I don't think she can. I don't think you can, because the world has changed so much. It's so different. As much as it is the same, people are still acting crazy, pretty much, but there is just a different world. When I think about it, the little we had, and we were able to make with,